Welcome to the podcast, everybody. We're back, three of us back in the room. Welcome back, Jake. Had a good holiday?
Very nice, thank you.
Yeah, looks like you got some miles in there. And can we talk about your sacral attempt?
We can, yeah.
Go on. What's the time?
I did 28 minutes and 28 seconds, 386 watts for nearly 30 minutes.
Wasn't it the same as Ed Laverack?
Yeah, so the day after, young Ed Laverack did another KO attempt, and he shaved 30 seconds off his time.
Yeah.
And we did exactly the same amount of watts, 386 watts, but he weighs 10 kilograms less than me, went 4 minutes faster.
10 kilograms is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think you can lose 10 kilograms.
I don't think I could.
That's amazing. So top 250.
Yeah, 253rd on the leaderboard.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well done, Jake. That's awesome. Talking about training and stuff today. So the podcast today is we're going to talk about a new study, bear with us, about muscle oxygen saturation being correlated with lactate thresholds. This has just come out. Just read it. I'm really excited because this is something that I've been talking about and preaching and discovering myself, and now someone's applied some academic vigor to those ramblings of mine, which is awesome. It's tech frenzy season. The women's Velta, the Giro was in full force, and it is like Shanghai bike show.
There's lots of great stuff out there, not for sure. So.
A quick little pick up on our feedback, our 1-star review, just to say where our thoughts are and all that right now. That's really cool. And a new bike shop in town.
Exciting times.
Yeah, competition. It is exciting.
Competition is good.
Yeah.
The right kind of competition.
Okay, so let's get into the podcast then. So this is a new article that got published. Now, the reason that I'm excited by this as a sort of a coach, and I think quite a lot of athletes will be excited by this, because lactate has been the thing. It's the thing that we're trying, but it's really hard to measure. You got a pinprick, there's sharp needles.
It's a cumbersome process, and it's very hard to do in a field environment and continuously do it even if you want to test as an individual athlete while you're training.
Yeah, you can't do it when you're running and you're cycling. It's just like trying to catch up with the pin. It's like you can't do it. So, and it's a messy process, and you don't always catch the blood test at exactly the turn points. And, so the search for a continuous blood lactate monitor is still ongoing, but
just to put it in perspective then, so I mean, from lactate testing, the way I've always looked at it is you have LT1 and LT2 are the key two turn points you're looking to establish. So what we're hoping here is, or the belief is, if we can mimic that with SMO, does that match LT1, LT2, correct?
That is almost what they're saying. They're saying there is a tight correlation. In fact, it almost mirrors.
Yeah.
The desaturation of oxygen almost mirrors exactly the accumulation of lactate. So it's like, yes.
Yeah.
And in this study, they're saying that it's a strong predictor of the LT2 breakpoint.
Absolutely.
They haven't found a correlation in LT1 yet.
No, there was some slight deviation I was reading from that.
Yes, but I think that's to do with their testing protocol, because they're doing a RAM test on this.
Yeah.
And I know that you probably wouldn't find a good turn point on LT1 with those sort of protocols anyway. So, but this is really encouraging.
Well, definitely. So, I mean, the paper itself was based on a group of elite football players, or soccer players.
Yes, all 24 years old.
Yeah. So it wasn't done on a group of cyclists, but that's irrelevant. I mean, it should apply to any sport, not just cycling.
Yeah, that's often the case, though. So you'll often find that practice informs theory, and theory informs practice. And we have ideas. I took this to the Moxie conference. The guys at here were at that Moxie conference, and other presenters. So this is what we're discovering. Someone's applied some academic vigor, and we quite often take in cycling papers from rowing and wherever it's been studied, and actually then apply it to cycling. So this is obviously been written, peer-reviewed, PhD'd, etc. It's just another little validation that the thoughts that coaches are discovering, that someone's actually gone, okay, let's just pull all those little bits out. Let's make an academic test on this. Let's put it up for peer review and then publish. So there's
I'm quite excited about the findings, and I can see how this could be applied in day-to-day training for any athlete of any level, not just elite level.
Absolutely. And we've got a video coming up, actually, that we're trying to work on. It's such a technical video, and I really want to make sure just to work on it right, about how Moxie can really help, because it doesn't decouple from reality, whereas heart rate and power decouples from reality. Like, 3 days into your Mallorcan holiday, replicating an effort on Cyclobra isn't going to happen. Moxie doesn't decouple from reality. Moxie is real data. So, yeah, I'm excited for this. So.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for me, is that you're going to effectively, what we're looking at is almost a live monitoring of lactate levels effectively. And so you will be able to get your training so much more accurate and specific with something like this that is, obviously it's expensive now But as the technology develops, you know, when power meters first came out, you know, it was £2,000 for an SRM power meter. But now you can pick up a 4i left arm for 300 quid.
Yep, absolutely.
So as this technology develops and comes further, we're going to be able to get for the end customer, for the, as you say, the layman athlete, to be able to get this instead of, you know, now with lactate testing, it's something that's so technical and specific and obviously very, very expensive to do still, because you're having to replace needles, lactate strips, all that sort of stuff all the time. And as you said, it's a pain to do.
It is.
And, you know,
Quite literally.
Yeah. Whereas with a muscle oxygen sensor, you've just got your little square that you slap onto your leg, and that's then a live monitoring of your accurate, exact performance. As you say, it's not something like power or heart rate, which changes day to day when you get tired or you're fresh or the weather's not quite right or whatever it is. That's it's going to, I think it could almost revolutionize training again.
It coincides nicely with the whole rise in popularity of the Norwegian method, which is very much strict pyramidal and then polarized.
Correct.
Because strict pyramidal depends on blood lactate testing, but it looks like Moxie can fill that gap.
And particularly in polarized, I've just done a block of polarized coming out of winter, and it's so important to be clear on where you are. And, you know, you got to be in one area or the other. You can't be anywhere in the middle or crossing over. So being able to tell that at every training session is absolutely paramount.
Yeah.
So
Watch this space. We've got videos coming up on this if this is not making much sense to you. So well done for bearing with us. Okay, tech frenzy. So Shanghai Bicycle Show was pretty boring. I've China Cycling to put some videos up about it. There's a few other YouTubers that are out there.
Yeah.
David Arthur, I bored to death, to be honest. Anyone else?
Well, what was really interesting to me was I actually Googled it, tried to find something, and there is a lack of information coming out of anything meaningful, which says to me what really, you know, came out of the Shanghai Bike Show that's really relevant in terms of the key brands and things. And I can find lots of references to brands I'm not personally that familiar with, like Petule Wheels or Quick Pro frame sets, but none of their mainstream stuff. So how relevant is the Shanghai Bike Show? I mean, your opinion? It's
a little bit late, really, in the season, potentially, or a little bit early for other things, I think. So it's still a little bit... It does coincide nicely with the sort of the launch of the Pro Tour, so it should do quite well. But the big brands are then, you know, somewhere else. It's normally a little glimpse into what the smaller, more innovative brands might have up their sleeves. You know, the sort of the little cottage industry creative types, or what they're like discovering. And
well, there was quite a big push on 3D printed saddles. I think Honore were kind of focused on that.
Yeah, I think that always happens. You know, you find a factory that's invested in that 3D printing machine, and now they're suddenly going to be selling 3D printed saddles to physique. And it's generally the same factory for everybody. It's just a case of rolling things out and stuff. And there's a few Chinese branded electronic group sets and stuff. And I'm not going to get excited by them until they have, you know, websites with parts and distribution. Yeah. It's going to be too niche and stuff.
Yeah, I think obviously with the mainstream brands, it's all focused around the Tour de France, isn't it? That's when most of the big things get announced. I think we're still a little bit early in terms of mainstream stuff, but yeah, as you said, what we usually get with stuff like the Shanghai Bike Show and like Taipei and stuff like that is all these little brands. And for me, it's often looking for little nuggets of things that it's like little innovations rather than big overarching new SRAM Red group set, which we may or may not be seeing in spy shots around the internet.
The spy shots are live, aren't they? You've only got to go to like the SRAM users group forums and stuff, and there's like, that's not a chainring I recognise posts.
So, I mean, obviously, yeah, on that subject, I mean, it's great to see, you know, the women's Velta. It's great to see, you know, what's going on in the Giro. I mean, there's some great racing there, and I guess key part of that is the tech that we're now seeing coming emerging. And, you know, I think the reference to the SRAM, obviously, you know, Bismarck Lisa Bike, a Little Trek, Bora Hansgrove, all using the new stuff, allegedly.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me. Actually, I saw TJ Pagacci came down, didn't he? On his was it TJ that came down on his hookless wheels?
Well, he had a puncture.
He had a puncture.
And
the team encouraged him to ride around the corner, and he just.
I think I saw GC Performance had put up a video saying UCI must ban. I'm like, can we? Like, not embarrass yourself. The last time this happened, it was like had a legitimate reason. Let's just wait till the information comes out.
I would like to say, watching that race, there was nothing to do with hooked or anything. He just had a regular puncture and tried to ride round a corner on a front wheel puncture and fell off, which I'm sure 99% of people would do, regardless of what wheels you ride in.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what do they make of the tech, though? It's obviously, it's RAM, you know, it's going to potentially assist to replace the SRAM Red AXS.
I mean, the SRAM Red group set is exciting. It must be around the corner, is because that leads the market now. It used to be Dura Race, and now we've seen that trend of SRAM launched SRAM Red. They were the ones that brought out ETAP originally and T-type transmission, and then a few years later Shimano arguably refines, improves it, makes it a bit cheaper. reluctantly Campagnole.
So when I was looking at the pictures, I was thinking, oh, like, look, somebody's just basically, how can we make it lighter? So let's drill loads of holes and everything, so the disc rotor's got a lot more holes in, the chain rings, etc., the rear derailleur. I mean, part of it seems to be a drive on weight. And
it looks very GRX-y from the shifters to me. It's very GRX Di2 shaped in terms of the ergonomics of it, because what you're used to with Red is those very big, sizable shifters. And when they brought out the new Force D2, everyone's been every SRAM user has been levitating towards that because it's got the smaller, more comfortable hood shape.
Yeah.
But the new Red in the spy shots that you can see is a much more shaped hood, so a bit more curvature. And the brake levers are very, very different with a much higher pivot like you're used to seeing on Shimano, which is, I think, interesting because it's obviously a deviation from what they've usually been doing. So I think it'd be nice to finally, when it does come out, get it in the hand and see what real changes they've made, because I think obviously weight is much of a muchness and stuff like that nowadays. But I think, like you're saying with the SRAM Shimano shift, to me it's kind of like a Samsung and Apple type thing, where Samsung or SRAM often bring the innovations and then Shimano or Apple often refine it and make it that kind of like really, really perfect end product. And so it'll be interesting to see what they have changed, whether you'll be seeing more like with the T-Type where they brought more durable and more automation into it. I think that'd be definitely interesting to see whether you can have a UDH road bike now with a much more stronger kind of design and stuff. That'd be definitely something I'd be interested in seeing, because countless times you see crashes on road bikes when you're going down at 30, 40 miles an hour, bent hangers, broken mech, stuff like that. So that'd be a big thing for me on the new SRAM, would be if you can get that T-Type involved and have a much stronger derailleur with more serviceable parts. Especially if you're spending £2,000 on a group set or more.
Yeah, you want it to be a bit more durable, don't you? For sure. So you're going for weight driving, you're going for durability.
And ergonomics. I mean, I think they've done a lot of work on ergonomics in terms of where your hands are, where your fingers are, particularly if you're riding on the tops, in terms of just that ergonomic feel of using it. And the other big thing that struck me, and obviously I struck a lot of the people who are reporting these spy shots, is the size of the chainring and the cassettes. So they're running 1036Ts. These teams, and also typically with a 5441 chainring.
1036,
so
54.
Who would have thought 1036, that people would even put that on their bike? I mean, going back a number of years, like 36?
Chris Froome started it all.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Right, okay, moving on, I think, a little bit. We'll find out pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Find out.
But this is all stuff that's out there, pictures being posted,
yeah.
commenting.
It's got to be soon, isn't it? Our feedback. So I want to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who posted on our last podcast when we talked about our 1-star review. That some of that feedback was brilliant. Some of it was a hard read. And yeah, we've talked about it internally, reflected on it, had a beer.
So, I mean, the way I look at feedback and we look at feedback is it's an absolute gift. So as Paul said, we really appreciate having the opportunity to get that feedback. And then, obviously it's our responsibility to action that feedback, which is what we're actually doing in terms of areas where we can make significant improvements quickly. We'll act on quickly, and things that we've got further down the road, we'll put process in place to make sure that we provide the highest level of quality and best value to all of our customers.
For me, it's a catalyst moment. It has made me go, what is it we're actually trying to be really, really good at?
Yeah.
And were we trying to be good at something that we were never intended to be good at? And it's a distraction.
Yeah, and it was a great point, because somebody, I can't remember who in the comments, but had said, be clearer on your website in terms of what you stand for, what you're about, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do.
Totally right.
So we are working with our kind of marketing colleagues who are revamping our website to be more explicit on that, to be clear on what you can expect. For example, like, if you're buying a frame set, what does that really mean? Do we sell frame sets, etc.? So I'm trying to provide a lot more clarity there.
So yeah, the message is specialist workshop, custom building, and specialist cycling fitness training. And retail, I've got no ambition to be good at stocking shelves and packing boxes. I don't think any of our team want to do that. I don't think there's a future in it, and we just need to be clearer on that. So look out for that. We've got some big changes coming. It's been a frantic week of sorting our shit out.
Absolutely. So, the team is growing, and we're investing in technology to help make things more effective. It can't all be manual processes. You've got to automate things. So lots of good things going on there. And as Paul said, being clear on what our kind of 3 pillars are, and that's obviously the bike servicing, the custom builds, the fitness testing, and I guess the third key pillar is
the YouTube channel. Yeah, actually, it's And
that's a great, because we're really proud of that in terms of how we can educate and share knowledge, etc., through these channels.
Yeah, and I'd much rather be a better YouTuber than a better box packer.
Yeah, I'd agree with it. It's more fun. It's more fun doing this than packing boxes.
Yeah, and I want to make more YouTube content. Talking of which, there is a new bike workshop in town.
Yeah,
which is really, really exciting. When I first saw it, there's a new shop in town called Headwinds Cycled. So welcome to town. I don't know if you watched the show. The guy called Alex. Congratulations on starting a new business. I'm really excited for him.
So it's interesting because when this was that, the first thoughts were, is this competition? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And we had a little bit of a discussion on that. So how do we see this, Paul? Do we see this as complementary and therefore a good thing, or
I'm honestly excited. A couple of things. One, it makes me realise where we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Me on my own with a workshop and getting it done. The other thing is that we are surrounded by big multiples. We've got a giant franchise. We've got JD Sports, aka Wheelbase, and we've got the petrol station franchise, aka Bike Treks.
Yeah.
Big things. And sadly, the other independent in our town, Brucey's, he's closing down, retiring. Yeah. He has done this town a good service throughout these years. Yeah. So having another proper specialist independent workshop in the town of Kendal can only be good for our local cycling community.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good for the community. I mean, the more people out there providing that service and help people keep their bikes going and keep their bikes safe and functioning effectively is a good thing. I can totally agree. I mean, from your experience, then, what would be your number one tip to the shop?
Enjoy your first year, because it is the hardest year that you'll ever do. When people say about building a business, you don't quite understand what that means. You literally build, you lay the floor, you paint the walls, you hang things on the wall. You do all the accounting yourself. You do all the marketing yourself. You do everything because you can't afford to pay anybody else.
Yeah.
So your first year is insane. And I look back on it, and it was the hardest working year of my life.
I can imagine.
But at the same time, it was just full of excitement and enthusiasm and positivity, etc. as well. So enjoy your first year. Just get the hard work done. Get established. Get your customers, and just do a really fucking good job, and you'll do all right.
Excellent. Great words of advice. And if people said, what differentiates MatTech then from another business like that or other business? I mean, how would you sum that up then?
Oh, right. Well, hopefully we've taken on apprentices, we've taught staff, we've invested constantly. So the big thing for me is always buy the tool. In fact, one of the reasons that I set this place up, really reflecting back on it, was I actually went to Brucey's a long, long, long time ago with a broken Mavic Cosmic. I said, can you fix this? If I haven't got it, he said, no, I don't have a tool for that. Send me away. That was the sliding doors moment. That was like, from that moment, I said, thanks, Brucey. I'm never going to say that to a customer. If I need to buy a tool, I'm going to buy a tool and do that job. And that's what we've done the whole time. We've always invested in better tools, new tools, knowledge, staff, to make sure that we can serve everybody.
Be great. I mean, Jake, you obviously came through as an apprentice. I mean, what's your insights in terms of how we differentiate as a business then through your experience?
I really like working somewhere that's definitely service focused, because as you say, our main priorities are getting stuff out the door as a quality job, because a lot of other bike shops, their main overhead is the £1 million worth of stock sat rotting on the shop floor that they need to get rid of.
Rotting might be a strong word, but
I mean, but it is that if it's sat there,
truth in it as well,
if it's sat there, your Wheelbase and you've got £1 million worth of Treks sat there, you need to get rid of it before they bring out the next model or the new groups that comes out or a new set of wheels, because otherwise you're going to end up discounting it. And so to be somewhere that's service oriented and is really dedicated to training staff and having this experience for the customers is really nice, because you get to put everything into that job rather than being kind of the afterthought of, oh yeah, we've sold all these bikes, now we kind of need to fix them, but that's not really that important because we make all our money just by shifting this off the shelf at 50% off.
Yeah.
And so the big thing for me is, having that focus on really delivering quality service and making sure that your end customer is actually getting something that's good, rather than, trying to just shift boxes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there we go.
Love it.
So, it's exciting times ahead. So it's right. I think that's it for me. You guys got anything else? I think that's
all our key information there. Key points covered. I'm good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've got any ideas for the next podcast, get them down in the comments down below. If you've got anything to add on this, if you want to know more about this, I can probably link you to the publication itself. And let's hopefully maybe the next podcast we're talking about Sram Red. Who knows? Probably.
Who knows?
Right. Till next time, guys. Take it easy.
See you later.